right. Thanks, guys, for joining us for episode 26 of Black Coffee and Crime, where we talk about true crime, current events, and other bullshit that we find on Al Gore's internet. There are three of us. I'm going to introduce you. There's Brandy Watts, in your corner there, and then at the bottom there you'll see Jackie, and then myself is Brandy as well. Now, we would like to give a disclaimer as a part of their church announcements that we do every week. These are the announcements as follows. We are not law enforcement professionals. We are just nosy ass people. We talk about crime that stories that you may have heard of, some stories that you may have never heard of, and we research them and then we talk about them. We do offer our opinion, so you'll get a lot of that. This is an unscripted conversation, so there will be twists and turns, and we'll throw things in there that probably don't have anything to do with the subject. And then we'll probably not even talk about the things that you really want to talk about. Sometimes we just omit things, but in the end, we're not trying to be malicious. We don't try to dig dirt on your family. So all the information that we have is public record. So we're not trying to be malicious. So if we misspeak, mispronounce, juxtapose dates, we are sorry. We apologize in advance. Please let us know in the comments or send us an email at info@blackcoffeecrime.com and just let us know. But again, we are not trying to be malicious or mean or anything like that. All right, so those are part of the church announcements. We are in day 11 of 2021, and day 11 of this year has proved to be almost as bad as 300 and plus days of 2020. We've had a new strain of the coronavirus hit like 3 states and 30 counties. So there's that. The death toll continues to rise. California hospitals are at capacity, like over capacity. They've got people in the chapel, in the flower shop, any available space they have people. And in fact, in California, basically they have a DNR on everybody.
Yeah.
If they cannot revive you at the scene, they will pronounce you dead. That is how bad it is in California, where they cannot transport you to a hospital because there is no available space. Last I heard, at King Medical Center in Los Angeles, every patient there was on a ventilator.
Yeah.
Which used to be formerly King Drew Hospital, teaching hospital, but now it's King Hospital, and every person there is on a ventilator. So that's how bad it is there. Certain counties are on a curfew. So pray for our sick and shut-in people. Check on your loved ones, even your neighbors, because at this point everyone is affected by this, young, old, in between. So just check on your people. Prison ministries, we ain't going. We still ain't going.
No.
We ain't going. We ain't doing no pen pals. We ain't going. Okay. We love you. But we ain't coming. Okay. So that's that. After the service, there will be cookies and some red punch in the fellowship hall. Follow us behind after that. Those are the announcements as follows. Now, let's get into the biggest. Okay, so last week we said that on January 6th, the Senate would confirm Joe Biden as the president-elect by confirming the Electoral College votes for each state. So on Tuesday, the 6th, the current president held this rally outside of Capitol Hill, and he basically told these people who showed up, you need a show of strength. We need to show them. He incited them to violence and basically insurrection to overthrow the United States government. And on that day, all hell broke loose. Was that Tuesday or Wednesday? Was that Wednesday? The 6th. What day was the 6th?
I think it was Wednesday.
Wednesday was the 6th. So yeah, that happened. basically they staged a coup to overthrow the government. Now you have to, the way this works, the way the Senate works, is the vice president is the president of the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
So he presides over the Senate. Now, next to the vice president would have been the Speaker of the House, which is Nancy Pelosi. And then on the other side, I think the minority whip, which would have been Mitch McConnell. Okay. So you've got both houses of Congress in a single building. You have Mike Pence, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Kamala Harris, because she's still senator.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Every head of state in the United States government, besides the president, was present that day. And thousands of people stormed the gates and got into the U.S. Capitol. Basically, every senator and congressperson was told to, shelter in place. We're watching this on TV.
Yeah.
Every mouth is like, jaw is dropped, because you're like, did they just get into the Capitol building with every senator, congressperson, and the vice president in there?
And they basically just walked in.
I would say they just walked in. They literally opened the door. They walked in.
They walked in.
They had a red carpet.
We watched them do it. And I just want to say that they have better security at Dollar General
At church
than they did at the Capitol building that day. There's no way that in the United States that they should have been able to get to.
There's no way.
Outer to the barriers.
Well, we know the police opened
the door.
Moved
the barricades
out of the way, basically.
Yeah, they opened doors and barricades.
Come on. So
taking selfies with the insurrectionists, and let's call this what it is. These are traitors to the union. These people are insurrectionists, and they deserve to be prosecuted.
Yes.
Period.
You know what was disrespectful to me is when that man put his foot up on that lady's desk.
Yes. On Nancy's desk.
I didn't know he did it. I mean, it's one thing to break into her office.
Yeah.
You don't put your foot on that lady's desk. Like, that is ultimate.
And that was like disrespect, especially for our community and our culture, because you don't put your feet on stuff. You know what I mean? Like you put your feet on the floor. That.
Not only did he do that, didn't he take some mail?
Took some mail, was rifling her stuff.
Rifling through her desk, and I believe that this was not. This was, of course, it was planned, but it was also targeted. That they were looking for certain things. There was a gentleman that walked out with a laptop. The guy that was in Nancy Pelosi's office, looking through her desk. They were looking for certain things. There is a congressman, and I forget his name. But his office, the way his office is, he has an office with his placard on the door, but then he also has a workroom, right? Both of them are almost impossible to find. He said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll never find his office, one. And then you'll never find the workroom where he actually works.
Mm-hmm.
They found the workroom. They found the work. He said, even if you are in that building all the time, if you are not one of his aides or interns, you don't know where that room is. So how
did they get there?
So do you think that senators such as Ted Cruz and Hawley, do you think they knew what was going to happen?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Jackie and I live in Texas, and for months they've been talking about seceding from the union. Ted Cruz has been a proponent of secession. And I think that had this been successful, Ted Cruz would be the leader of the pack. And he would be holding the flag saying that, yes, I want to be the leader of this new union.
Because you know he backpedaling right now.
Of course.
You already know how I feel about Ted Cruz.
Of course. Old Chester, long ass chin Chester of Ted Cruz.
The president done called your wife ugly. First of all,
you ain't did.
I don't even know why he's still married. Because if somebody had called me ugly and you over
Don't
here
say
bitching after he done called me ugly, and you ain't stood up for me.
And you're still licking his boots. Not, like you are actively courting his favor. Not that you're working with him because that's your job, but you are courting this man's favor after his remarks to him. He also said that his father was responsible for killing JFK. I mean, he totally he did a character assassination on Ted Cruz. Not that was really hard. But I do believe that this was targeted because there's no way. And also, Trump told basically law enforcement, military to stand down. There were senators and Congress people who were trying to get the National Guard to come in, but they didn't. They couldn't get them until later that night when it was time to enforce the curfew. As a matter of fact, most of the arrests, there's like 61 arrests as of yesterday. 61 arrests, most of those arrests came for curfew violations, not because of the people that were actually storming the Capitol. Now, there have been some arrests made. A lot of people are on the no-fly list. You can see on YouTube and the news and every social media site people crying because they are being turned away from airports, being told that they are on a no-fly list. So they are terrorists. They are domestic terrorists. There was a lady. We're not going to tell her to say her name because she doesn't deserve it. She got shot in the neck. People want to talk about how sad, girl, boo. You were in the commission of a coup, and you went there to be a patriot. You went there to do all these things and die for your country, and booby, that's what you did.
As she stated in her own video, while she was there, in her own personal video, she stated that she was ready to die in order to be on Trump's side, pretty much. That's what she said.
And they have stolen to say her name, hashtag.
Yeah, these are same people who did not say the name of Breonna Taylor when she died in her sleep in her own home by the actions of horrible police officers. Y'all wouldn't say her name. But you want us to say her? Bet I won't.
No, bet I won't.
Bet I won't. But won't do it? Won't do it?
Well, they have arrested. Well, they have suspended one of the officers and arrested some of the other officers
from the Capitol Police.
Yes, that were not policing.
Yeah.
So
there was a lady who. How did she die? The other lady, did she fall?
She got the lady with the onion.
She got trampled. Oh
no, the lady not Lizzie.
Lizzie. Knoxville with the onion. But no, there was a lady who died. She got trampled. There was a guy who tased himself in his gonads, and
they said that wasn't true. That he didn't get tased, but he did have a heart attack.
He had a heart attack and died. And the most tragic. Oh wait, there is the police chief, I think, of the Capitol Police, and I could be wrong, but I know he's a high-ranking officer in the Capitol Police. He resigned, but then he killed himself. Mm-hmm. And they're saying that he killed himself just because of depression. No, you killed yourself because you were a part of that. I don't care.
Thank you. And you knew.
If you were on the right side, then there's no way you should kill yourself.
Because you knew.
There's no way you should have quit your job. You was just about to lose your job. And but the most tragic death of all of this is a Capitol Police officer who was dragged down the steps of the Capitol and stomped and beaten
with the fire extinguisher.
With the fire extinguisher and with a flag. Now let me tell y'all, for the past since Trayvon Martin, y'all have been talking about Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and the inception of Black Lives Matter. Y'all have been throwing back Blue Lives Matter. Let's just stop it. Okay? Blue lives only matter when they are doing what you want them to do. When the cops are out here killing innocent people, brown bodies, then yes, blue lives matter. Blue lives matter when you want to throw it into the face of Black Lives Matter. But y'all don't give three fat blonde asses about blue lives and cops and law enforcement at all, unless they're opening the gates to Troy. Okay. That's it. So let's just drop that. That should never be a phrase that anyone says. There's no such thing as a blue life. There are police officers, and police officers are human, and these demons wear uniforms. So let's just drop that. Okay, let's just not even do that. It's not about blue lives. It's not about cops, because as soon as the cops started fighting back and pushing you all back, then their lives didn't matter. So let's just stop.
Right.
I mean, their life didn't matter anyway.
No, but you wanted to use that because the law enforcement protected white lives against people of color, and have always done in this country. So y'all were just using that momentum, and but it just let's just stop. But one thing I am very proud of is us, y'all. I'm very proud of us, because we were doing this all day Wednesday.
I was like this. That's me. Every time I saw something.
Y'all, that ain't had nothing to do with us. We stayed out of it. Let them people do that. Let the entire world see what Americans do. Just like the entire world saw the marches in Birmingham and Selma and Montgomery to usher in and to give those civil rights movements some momentum. People needed to see that. So the rest of the world is looking at us like we're now the shithole country, y'all. It's official. It's official. So we are dealing with that. Like, I don't even know if we're going to have an inauguration. Is it going to be behind closed doors for safety purposes? I think it should be, because they're still trying to do some stuff. So it's really crazy.
Now I think they're planning something in all 50 states at the capital of each state. So
listen, y'all, stay home. They ain't got nothing to do with us. Stay home. If you call off that day, go get you some groceries and sit at home and eat some popcorn and watch the TV. But
the thing that's killing me is these people are like, I don't understand. Like, I'm not a terrorist. Like, why are you arresting me? Like, are you serious? Like,
there to overthrow.
It's the privilege. That's what it is. Because right now they're wondering, how dare you? How dare you punish me for doing what I want to do? How dare you?
It's not even doing what I want to do. It's you're punishing me for doing what the president told us to do.
Right.
We were supposed to do this. We're Americans. We're patriots, and the president told us to do this. The president is an idiot. So why would you?
When you see that man not get in front of that march and get in his limo and drive off, that was a sign, like maybe we can do this.
We ain't going. What do people say? The All Stars brand, she ain't going.
Yeah, she ain't going.
She ain't going. I'd have been like, y'all, we ain't going to this. So
I mean, well, not to be judgmental, but I mean, most of them didn't look like they really had the kind of intelligence to understand that wasn't the smart thing to do.
I mean, these are grandmas, grandpas, pawpaws, meemaws.
Wait a minute. Who let the chicken nugget in? Okay, how lax is the security when y'all let a chicken nugget roll right on through the Capitol building?
And was hollering. Do you hear me? They was fussing. I was like,
you got nerve to
guy. I think there was a crying guy that how did he even know where he was going?
You got nerve to shaped like a chicken nugget from Wendy's. A spicy chicken nugget. Not even spicy, because I know you was unseasoned. But you might have been a little musty, so you might have had a little season on, a little something, a little tinge. But somebody let the chicken nugget through. I was just like,
I mean, they came in tearing up, wiping,
defecating and urinating and smearing it on the wall. Y'all nasty.
Y'all nasty. You just like
y'all nasty.
Like who?
Y'all nasty. Look, I'm gonna tell you what. This is why I don't eat at potlucks. Shit like that right there. That's why I don't eat at potlucks at work. That.
Blowing off the fire extinguishers.
Y'all nasty. Jackie, your face been like that for like 30 seconds.
That visual, you know.
All 30 seconds, you was like,
Because you ain't got no tissue, your hand messed up.
listen, I know they have flush washrooms in the Capitol building. If you had to go,
Just go.
Y'all nasty.
Nasty.
Probably all on the statues and everything.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens going forward with this. We're still going to talk about this during the show because it does have a lot to do with what we're talking about. Last week, we watched the documentary 40 Years a Prisoner, talking about the 1978 bombing of a MOVE compound in Powelton Village, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now that same group moved or resurfaced in the 1980s in West Philadelphia on Osage Avenue. And they helped create a situation that led to the death of 11 members and the destruction of 61 homes, like an entire city block. Mm-hmm. Basically, May 13, 1985, the city of Philadelphia waged war on like 30 people.
Yeah. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it?
There weren't even 30 people in that house.
No.
They waged war. I'm talking about 10,000 rounds were fired into the house. 10,000 rounds. They set that house on fire. They dropped a bomb in a black residential neighborhood. And then they let the fire burn.
That alone right there is just mind-boggling to me. A bomb.
Now there's a picture that I will put up of the helicopter, and you can see the sack bomb falling through the sky. Now, in a documentary that I watched on YouTube, and I forgot the name of it, and I will post that. So
I think it's called.
It was on Dateline or
Frontline.
In the 1980s on Frontline. So it's about an hour long, and basically this is what happened. So all of the events. So basically, MOVE was supposed to be a non-violent group, anti-government, anti-police brutality. They were for animal rights and civil rights. They accepted it was a predominantly Black group of people. However, they accepted everybody. And they were headed by John Africa. John Africa was in the house that day. And they were agitators. That's what they did. They agitated, but they agitated with words. And I don't know what it is about Black people and our mouths that just upset the balance of America. We will march peacefully, and the things that we say are so insightful to the establishment that they are willing to mow us down, kill us, everything. And the reason why is because the things that we're saying are true.
And the thing is, a lot of the things that they believed and they lived by would be so accepted in today's society. So accepted.
Clean living, fair treatment of animals, fair treatment of people, anti-technology, all of the things that we talk about today, people trying to get off the grid. These are the things that MOVE, were for. MOVE actually was not an acronym, okay? So it was just MOVE.
Right.
It was not an acronym. It's just MOVE. It started off as a Christian group, and then it was changed to MOVE. I think that was done deliberately just to piss people off, because you expect an acronym and you want to know what it means, but there was really no meaning behind it. And that pissed people off even more. So since the 1978 bombing, 9 people in that incident in 1978 were in prison for 100 years. And so the group kind of splintered off, went to Rochester, New York, and then they came back to Philadelphia. And they moved into this neighborhood and they created another compound. They agitated the neighbors because what they wanted to do was they wanted to use the neighbors to get the establishment to do something. Mm-hmm. So they would go around their neighborhood with their bullhorns, and they use foul language because they knew that would be the thing that upset people enough to go to City Hall. And they had this thing where they would deliberately get arrested, and they would have mock trials to make sure they knew what they were going to say. So basically, the city of Philadelphia went to evict them unlawfully.
Again.
Unlawful. Let's just say it was an unlawful eviction. Again. Because they did that in Powelton Village. Now, they owned the home in Powelton Village as well as the one on Osage Avenue through a co-op, where people, put their money together, and they would just buy the homes in each neighborhood to keep away from gentrification. Maybe we should be doing that now. But they did own the home, and they wanted to evict them, because people were talking about the smell and the trash. And so Mayor Wilson Goode, Frank Rizzo had retired, at that point. So Wilson Goode was the first Black mayor of Philadelphia. And he basically gave carte blanche to the police commissioner to do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. Serve the eviction, get them out. In the previous incident in 1978, they had like 30 days. They didn't give them 30 days. They wanted them out that night. Now, one of the interesting things about this, and I had wondered about this from the 1978 incident, is how complicit were the neighbors? How complicit were the neighbors? Did they sign on for this? Did they push to get them out, to get them evicted? And yes, they did. In the documentary we watched, the Frontline documentary, the neighbors were like, yes, we want them out by any means necessary. Guess what? They got them out, and they burned your house down too.
Right. Got both y'all out.
Now both.
They didn't bother to rebuild. So this powder keg, literal powder keg, is just building and building and building. The pressure's building. So May 13th, which happens to be, I think it was Mother's Day, it wasn't like they were trying to serve the warrant or the eviction and knocked on the door. They went there with like 600 officers and 10,000 rounds. They had a plan. Their plan was to smoke them out, basically. We're going to shoot. We're going to smoke them out. They're going to come out. We're going to what they said that they wanted to do with the bomb was to set there was like a parapet that they had constructed on the top so they could see around the neighborhood. They wanted to have that fall through the house and have everyone leave. There were only 13 people in that house. 5 of them children, 6 of them children. They knew how many children were in there. The police commissioner said that basically it didn't matter if the kids were in there. They would be casualties. They didn't know what type of weapons they would have. So they had to go too. And so they're firing and firing and firing. That doesn't work. So they dropped the bomb. At, what was it, like 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon? They dropped the bomb. The neighbors didn't know.
Out there like this.
Yeah, they had, because they knew it was about to happen. Wilson Goode, the mayor, was not even present that day because he said he had given permission to the police commissioner to do whatever he needed to do, and he trusted that this man would do that. So he gave him no playbook. He just said, do whatever it is that you need to do. So they dropped this bomb on this house, which is like filled with C4, and they let the fire burn. The members of MOVE were in the basement. And instead of putting the fire out, now the fire chief was there, and the fire chief said that at the time that the bomb was let go, the fire could have been put out almost immediately. It wasn't until, what time was it that they did this? I believe it was around 6:30, so it had burned for a good hour and a half or something like that before the mayor was supposedly, allegedly, the mayor says that he gave the command to put the fire out. The police commissioner says he didn't give that. No, police commissioner said he received the order, but the fire chief never received the order to move forward, and he conceded to the police chief, to law enforcement that day. So they let the house burn. Then what they did, when the members could not take it anymore, they tried to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started shooting at them.
Yep.
So they went back in. 2 people got out, Ramona Africa and Birdie Africa. Now, last week we said it was Michael Africa, but according to the documentary that we watched, that it was Birdie who was 12, and that apparently is not Michael. But in articles that I read, that it said it was Michael. So I'm a little bit confused if Birdie and Michael are the same person. I thought that they were, but I could be wrong. I thought that they were the same person. However, it still stands that there was a child who witnessed being bombed in a fire as if he was in Vietnam. And how can we have sympathy for casualties of a foreign war, but we cannot have sympathy for the child in a regular residential neighborhood? These were babies, naked little babies, living out their little lives. And the language that they're using is savage. They're savages and they're this and they're that. They are stripping away all humanity from every member of MOVE, as if MOVE was, you would think that the members were using guns and committing crimes and robberies. They were just a nuisance. That's it. A loud nuisance. So what happens? They let the fire burn. Ramona is arrested and she's later convicted and given 7 years for inciting a riot. How the hell am I given 7 years for inciting a riot?
What?
I was inside the house.
Child.
You dropped a bomb on me.
On my house. And because I came out, because I lived, I have to go to jail.
That's why. Because she lived.
She lived to tell the story. She lived to tell the truth. By 11:45 that night, now mind you, this happened at 5 o'clock. At 11:45, 61 homes in that neighborhood had burned down.
Whole neighborhood gone.
And if you see the destruction, it looks like London after the Blitzkrieg in World War II. It looks like Nuremberg. It looks like any city that had been bombed, firebombed during World War II. That's what Osage Avenue looks like. Osage Avenue largely still looks like that today. They did not rebuild those homes. The city bought some of those homes out, bought some of the homeowners out, but they never rebuilt that neighborhood.
Can they rebuild, or is it some kind of
it's owned by the city.
Pollute or something from the bomb?
I believe that it's a historical marker at that location now, I believe. But yeah, it's owned by the city.
Wow.
It's owned by the city. But really, I'm gonna say it. I mean, I wouldn't want to buy a home and have a home built there. But with gentrification, people don't care because they build homes on top of Indian burial grounds. So, because I want a nice condo. But this is something that is crazy because, like last week we said, not a lot of people know about this. How do you have the authority and the autonomy to bomb a neighborhood in Philadelphia and the Department of Justice does not investigate? I don't understand.
I don't either. I asked my parents if they were familiar with the story because around that time they were in their early 20s. They have no idea what I'm talking about.
They covered
I
that.
had to literally go over that with them. They were like, what? When did that happen? And my mom and dad are pretty up to date about what goes on. They kind of like to read the news. They always have. They're newspaper readers. They didn't know anything. I was like, what?
My mom did know. because I asked her. Now my sister was like, what? But my mom did. My mom did know.
Philadelphia was one of those cities that was its own little principality, basically. The political machine there. Frank Rizzo and those cops would do whatever they wanted to do, and had done for generations before and then afterwards as well. There was 3 days after the bombing, they convened in like a kind of like a commission grand jury type thing to see what kind of wrongdoing there was. I wish that I could time travel back to 1985 and slap the dog mess out of Wilson Goode.
Piss at him.
Listen, when you love your enemy so much that you are willing to take the fall for your enemy against your own people, if it had a face, it was Wilson Goode.
And this is the thing, they finally got rid of Rizzo. Like,
and
crazy.
he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be the black mayor. Then I'm gonna make sure that I appeal to all, but not mine." Because the neighbors in the neighborhood were like, "We kept going to him. And he was like, "There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do about that." And then they were like, after this happened, and they lose their homes, they were like, "There was nothing you could do, but then you do this. This is the step that you take." And in the press conference before, like immediately after the bombing, he's like, "I trust that my police commissioner did everything right. I stand behind him. You just assassinated 11 brown bodies and traumatized a young lady and a young boy in a whole neighborhood, a whole community, and you stand by that.
Kill children.
Yeah, thank you. You stand behind killing children. Innocent children, because they ain't doing nothing. No. They're not saying anything. They're not doing anything. So you stand behind killing children.
Yes. It is amazing how they covered that up so quickly and so thoroughly that it's still unbelievable today that this happened. Not 5 years later, 6 years later, down here in Waco, the same thing happened. But the world knows about David Koresh.
Mm-hmm.
The world knows about Ruby Ridge. Nobody knows about Osage Avenue. And the reason why no one knows is because those bodies were black. That's it, y'all.
That's it. Right there.
We're not pulling a race card. We're saying what it is. Those bodies were black. And because the police commissioner, the police chief, the fire chief, every police officer, and the mayor, and even some of the neighbors stripped those people of their humanity, stripped those people of anything recognizable, any sort of empathy that we could have given them, then that's why they forgot, because they were complicit in it. So normally if there's a tragedy, people talk.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were complicit in the crime, no one's going to talk. Because that's your shame. You own that. You own the shame. Granny, why did y'all move from that house? Oh, there was a fire that burned down the neighborhood. There was a fire that burned down the neighborhood. People talk about the Watts riots. People talk about the Detroit riots. People talk about the riots in Chicago. You know about those things because we were not complicit in those crimes against us. At Osage Avenue, we were complicit in that. In Powelton Village, we were complicit in that. We helped them destroy those people. And that's why the Move 9 were given 30 to 100 years. That's why 40 years later, they're still in prison. The last person of the Move 9 from the 1978 shooting was Delbert Africa. Now, if you remember, Delbert was the one that walked out with his hands out to his sides, and they still hit him in the face with the butt of a gun. One officer hit him with a hard hat and beat him, like to where his eyes
beat him really bad
of his face. He was released in 2020. I think it was January 2020. so a year ago, and he actually passed away in the summertime from, I want to say it's a liver or kidney disease that was untreated during his 40 years in prison. But the reason why they were in prison is because even at his conviction at the trial, you remember they gave them 100 years. Delbert was like, you guys are the criminals. How can you sentence me to this when you're the criminal? And that's what you do to truth tellers. You put them behind bars and you shut them up and you leave them there forever. And you pray that they die. You pray that they die there because you never want the truth to come out. I don't understand why I don't know if this hasn't happened, but I don't understand why. It will be interesting to know if the children, family members of the original members of MOVE, received any compensation or have any pending lawsuits against the city of Philadelphia for this.
Some of them probably did. They didn't win, but some of them, I'm quite sure some of them did. I didn't actually look into that either. That is something I'll check out.
Yeah, because
I bet they're gonna lose.
Because there has to be an admission of guilt. Now that commission that investigated the mayor's office, they did find that they were negligent. So they did find that they were negligent and that there was wrongdoing in those decisions. However, no one was ever prosecuted.
Okay.
So yes, you were wrong, but we won't prosecute you. We will not prosecute you. And so once the fire died down, nobody knew about this. Now I've known about the bombing. I did not know about this 1978 incident, but I know about the bombing years and years ago. I'd heard about it. But again, I just assumed that everyone else knew too. But again, you have to look at the contrast between Ruby Ridge and as one incident, Waco as another, and then this as another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
David Koresh was like armed to the teeth. He was ready. MOVE had shotguns that were strictly for self-defense. They did not have
their guns were broken,
right,
or not working.
Those police officers had anti-tank rounds, assault rifles for people who were truly nonviolent people. They were agitators, they were assholes, but they were nonviolent. There is not one thing that I found, and there might be, but that they had actually attacked someone. I think there was something in 1978 that one of the neighbors said that they were attacked. But this faction here in 1985, they were just agitators.
Yeah.
And nuisances. So is that what we do? And again, this is
which we know they didn't start off that way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I keep thinking like, what got them to that point? Were people bothering them? Because people tend to bother them.
Well, they were agitators because they wanted the mayor's office to do something about the police brutality. They wanted a reaction. And that's exactly what they were doing before with Move 9. They were inciting a reaction because, especially with Frank Rizzo's regime, they were brutal. They were like Gestapo. Wilson Goode just kind of took up the mantle from that, but he was very passive. Like, I'm not going to do it myself, but I'll get y'all to do it. And he allowed that same regime to come in, to stay in place and continue the work while he just kind of sat back and say, hey, it's not me. But so he was very passive, and people kept trying to get him to, hey, you need to do something about these people. Go talk to them, do something. And the one time that he does take action, this is the action that he takes. I don't know what happened to Wilson Goode. I don't know what happened to Police Chief O'Neill or the commissioner, but I would just pray that they are running around one of the rings in Dante's hell. I don't know which one, but I just hope that they're running around one of them. Just
It's warm.
All the time. Are you boiling in oil? Like, what are you doing? You need to be in Dante's hell, because there's no possible way that you should have been able to sleep peacefully and have a peaceful, fruitful, successful life when committing a crime like this. I think this is on par with war crimes that, they're still prosecuting Nazi war crimes. I think this is on par with that. These are war crimes. And had this been on foreign soil, this would have been brought up at the UN. Like, we would have had a trial.
Yep.
But it's crazy that this happened on American soil 35 years ago in our lifetime, and there's nothing. Now, this does kind of correlate in the treatment of these people with the Black Lives Matter versus the insurrectionists. When Black Lives Matter marched in Washington, in Capitol Hill, on every single step of the Capitol building, there was a member of the National Guard, armed to the teeth. These people marched peacefully. They did not breach any walls. They did not threaten anyone. There were snipers. There were helicopters. There were dogs. There were everything. Last week, there wasn't even a Pomeranian out there. There was not even a Chihuahua. Now, Chihuahuas are the most vicious dogs in the world. There was not even a Chihuahua out there. There were no helicopters. There were no extra police, and they're saying we were unprepared. You couldn't have been unprepared, because on every single social media outlet for weeks,
they were talking
people
about.
Have been saying that they were going to do this. So don't say that you're unprepared. And was it 2015 when the young mother was gunned down because she got too close to the barriers with her 2-year-old?
She was doing a U-turn.
She was doing a U-turn. And they killed her lawfully, in her car with her 2-year-old, because she got too close to the barriers of the Capitol building, not the White House, the Capitol building, because the power is really in the Senate, in the Congress.
Yes.
They shot that woman multiple times.
Killed her. Yep.
Killed her. Justifiably.
Not one.
But you have thousands of people, and y'all not ready?
While the Senate was in session.
While the Senate was in session.
Yeah.
While the Senate was in session. If I tell you this was the biggest attempted murder on the planet, y'all, this was some Shakespearean Greek tragedy type stuff right here. This was Julius Caesar, y'all. Like, are you serious? This was attempted murder. I don't care. I will argue this. This was attempted murder. This was a coup, but this was attempted murder. These people, given the chance, these people would have killed.
Right, because it wasn't meant to be a peace. If it was meant to be peaceful, they wouldn't even barge through the doors.
No,
it would have stayed where it was outside to be able to protest what it is that they felt. But the moment that they moved or walked in and decided to take over, at that moment, they're terrorists. At that moment, you're terrorists. Your intention is to kill or have some things done in your
face. Zip ties?
They were yelling for Pence to string him up and kill him. Pelosi and one other person.
The entire power base of the United States government was in one building that day.
Yeah.
And they recorded themselves doing it.
The entire power base was in the building that day. So the way it goes is, say for instance, there's an incident where the president dies or is unable to fulfill his office, right? The duties of his office. Then the vice president steps up. Then the Speaker of the House then becomes the vice president. Okay? Mm-hmm. And then it goes down from there. So just imagine Mike Pence is gone. Nancy Pelosi's gone. Mitch McConnell's gone. Kamala Harris is gone, who was a senator and the incoming vice president. Chuck Schumer's gone. Everybody, every seat of power in every state is gone, except for who? Trump, Ted Cruz, and Holly, and the people who signed, who were behind this insurrection. They would be the only ones still standing. Those would have been the people that would have taken over the government. We cannot possibly have an inauguration if we do not have a seat of power. Utter chaos, y'all. And y'all thought y'all was gonna get on the airplane and go home? Shit.
My thing is, why you're surprised that you're not going home? Why are you surprised that you are getting arrested?
Privilege.
Because of this privilege. If
I'm not a terrorist.
White privilege had a face or a definition. Like, if y'all didn't know the definition of white privilege, if you think you didn't have it,
baby, that was it.
Wednesday.
I mean, they recorded themselves. They recorded themselves.
We always talk about how white people won't have nothing else. If nothing else, they got audacity. This was
and they posted it for your family members. The police officers taking selfies.
Girl, this is old Eliza from Knoxville.
Right. Izzy. It's a revolution. Oh, Liz.
You know what? Liz,
I'm talking about taking that tab just
for her onion.
Listen.
I'm like, child.
Gil Scott-Heron said a long time ago that the revolution would not be televised. And I know that we've heard that before. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. Jill Scott, our Jill Scott, said in a I think it was a Breakfast Club broadcast one time, that revolution happens in the dark. So let me tell y'all, if we were to stage a revolution, just like we keep cops out of our neighborhoods, we'd be doing this. The same thing we was doing on Wednesday sipping tea. It would have happened, and we'd be back at the house.
Yep.
But the audacity of these people says, we are going to do this, and we're going to do it loud, and we're going to use social media. We're going to use Facebook Live and Instagram and Snapchat and all of these things. And guess what? Your president ain't on Snapchat. He ain't on Twitter. He ain't on Facebook. He ain't on Pinterest. Listen, when you get banned from Pinterest, Pinterest is just an app to keep you happy and occupied for several hours thinking of the shit that you want to do that you will not do. You know what I'm saying? How you get banned from Pinterest? Pinterest, y'all.
First lady app.
Happy moment.
First lady's like, oh, my Pinterest.
All social media apps have banned him for life, y'all.
Why is he banned from Shopify?
Yeah.
Listen, when we said you can't go outside and play, damn it, we meant you can't go outside. If you too sick to go to school, you too sick to Shopify. There you go.
Well, that's what I'm like. That's Shopify, not Pinterest.
Now you got all these folks resigning last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't want to bring forth they didn't want to invoke the 25th Amendment. So his cabinet quit. But that's okay, because we can impeach you, and we can impeach you after the inauguration.
Yep.
So you get to be impeached after the inauguration, which basically takes away all of your witchy powers.
Yeah, you're just a regular citizen.
You're just a regular citizen. So
you don't get nothing.
Secret Service is no longer at your disposal. You do not have a pension. You do not have the protection as a former president and head of state. So all of those things that protected him and all of this BS that he's been doing,
All the money gone, the extra money, the salaries, all that, everything gone.
I would be more upset with not having Secret Service because
he's definitely gonna need it. I mean, you done messed up. You done messed with the Russians. You done messed with the Chinese. You didn't call the most fierce people on the planet. And I'm gonna the most fierce
now
people
your
on
own
the planet
people
are Haitians. You have said that countries like Haiti are shithole countries. Do you know how fierce Haitians are?
Not even that, is these people who did this insurrection are like, why is he telling us this? Because he's the one that told us to go.
Yep.
So I don't understand why he's getting on TV saying, that we should be prosecuted and all this when you're the one that told us to go.
Yeah.
So
That sounds stupid. It sounds so stupid.
Yeah.
He said we could. You can't, but he said we could. I mean,
my mama could say, Brandy, go up there and tear up that Capitol. And I'm like, she crazy. Something.
Like, is that what you're looking for?
They're like, nah, I'm good, mama. I ain't going. You let me know how that worked out.
Their privilege is so strong. It's just that I'm just like, how? When I hear that, it just really makes me go like cringe because I'm like,
he got in his limo.
He told us we could. Like,
man, if you know what he said when he got in that limo. Man, you hitting them corners too damn hard. Because I almost feel.
He went the opposite way, and you said, "I'm gonna go ahead and go." Like, I'm going.
That's what he said when he got in that limo, man. You told this motherfucker
baby, hit the corners too
like he had on this $200 suit.
He wasn't thinking about them at all.
At all.
He's like, it's lunchtime.
I've been here long enough.
At all. It's just amazing. You know what? As brown folks, whether you're Asian, if you're Chinese and you've experienced, in Japanese, you've experienced internment camps in the U.S., harsh treatment with the railroad if you're Chinese. If you are Native, we already know the horribleness of the natives, millions of people annihilated. If you're Mexican, you still deal with this bullshit.
Yeah.
If you're Black, you still deal with this bullshit.
Yeah.
But I tell you, all of us were at the house that day. Well, all of us were at the house that day.
Would you look at that?
Yeah.
All of us were at the house that day.
Like, what?
I said, these folks is going up into this Capitol, fighting these Blue Lives Matter police officers, flashing them up into the head and everything, to go into this, and you trying to figure out why you're on the no-fly list, why you're being arrested. You don't understand.
This, this is...
They do, though.
Poetic justice for us.
They do understand.
They do understand, but they just...
They're so privileged.
The rules don't apply. The rules don't apply.
Yes.
I know there's a rule, but it doesn't apply to me.
Because we would never... You hear me? Never. And if we seen some Black folks doing that, we would be pissed off.
You're messing up for everybody.
Where is his mama?
Listen. Every Black household knows this. Probably every Hispanic one as well. It doesn't matter who broke that damn lamp. Okay? It don't matter who broke the lamp. Because who gonna get the whooping?
Everybody.
Everybody's about to get this whooping. So, in order for us not to get the whooping, put the lectern down. Put it down. Put this shit. Get your ass out of there. Get out of the white people's house. Get out of the white people's house.
Right.
Listen, I am so very amused by this. They're talking about this being the greatest tragedy in American history.
They labeled that as the greatest tragedy?
Y'all ain't got nothing else?
Nothing else? That was it.
We just talked about one just right now. Y'all ain't got nothing else. Y'all don't. Let's just go back to 1995. Can we go back to 1995? And Brandy, you said that 9/11 would have been the greatest American tragedy, and I argued, and I said that it wasn't. I said that it wasn't. I think the great American tragedy is when Americans commit crimes against other Americans. Well, 9/11 could be argued that that was an American tragedy, but the Murtaugh building in Oklahoma City, I was devastated, y'all. We were still in high school, B. And that was what? Let's go back.
Or we could say the Trail of Tears, when you kicked Native Americans off their land and had them walk across the country.
Let's go back to September of 1963 in Birmingham, Alabama. Now, I'm about to cry just thinking about that.
Oh, girl, don't start.
I'm not gonna start because my eyelash is not all the way on today. We're not gonna do it.
Just sitting on it.
I mean, so we can continue to go back and spot every culture in the United States can go back and talk about American tragedies. The Italians can talk about Sacco and Vanzetti. Mm-hmm. The Japanese can talk about being in internment camps in their own countries. The Chinese can talk about being used as indentured servants and slaves to build a railroad that they couldn't even ride in.
True, we was building that railroad too.
Right.
Yep.
So we can talk about Middle Passage. We can talk about all of it.
So many.
So it's not the biggest American tragedy. It's just another one. It's this. Is this an American tragedy? Is this an American? I don't even know what word or phrase it.
I was just thinking. I was like, is it really though a tragedy?
It's not a tragedy because when you think about it. Okay, so we have the American Revolution, but we're fighting against tyranny against a different country, another country to create this thing. Is this a tragedy or treason? Because the South seceding from the Union was treason. This is treason. This is not tragedy. This is treason. Let's not use tragedy. Tragedy is the officer who was dragged down the steps of the Capitol. That is tragic. Yeah. But the reason why they did that is treason.
Yep.
And I would argue that President Trump, for inciting this, should be brought up on charges of murder.
Yep.
Everyone who is identified should be brought up on charges of murder. Everybody who was identified, because you contributed to the environment that created that man's death. This is a war crime. Mm-hmm. This is a war crime. Yeah. And I hope that, and YouTube, you can take this off. I don't know. People can get mad at me, but I do hope that this man will be prosecuted for this.
Oh, very much so.
This is horrible. And I hope that when he is brought so low in his, because he's everyone knows he's a narcissist, but I hope that he's brought so low and humiliated so much that prison won't even be necessary.
Well, right now they said he's not even worried about all of this. He's still sulking about losing the election.
Good.
He said the only thing he's upset about the insurrection is that the people look so low class.
What? You said, I'm really like, that's why I'm like.
But he's not thinking anything about that insurrection. He's still thinking about how he lost.
Thinking about the election?
Yes, that's what they said today on the news. That he is still upset about losing the election. After all of this,
Are you frozen?
That's be my. I'll be really shocked at some of this stuff. So that's why I'm be like, what?
I don't. It does not compute.
He's not a regular person, so
it does not compute. This has been. So
he orchestrated. Let me just ask again, so I don't feel weird. So, but he orchestrated a riot,
but insurrection.
Sorry.
Yes.
and he's worried about the election that he has been told 1 billion times that he lost.
Yes.
That I've never ever seen us even go through the process constantly recounting elections because he's such a crybaby and
you lose that many times. Every time you count and you still lost, that's another loss.
This didn't even happen in 2000.
Just take the 1 L.
This didn't even happen in 2000 with Gore versus the United States of America, when Gore contested the win of George Bush. This didn't even happen then. And that was a serious matter. Like, that went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court shot Trump down so quick. They're like, look, we don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, they sure did. Like, no.
He put on the thing.
They said, go on, get this out of here. But with Gore versus the United States, that was a year, it was 18 months or a year, more than a year case that we didn't really have a president before Gore just finally conceded. That was serious. And even then, with a Republican and a Democrat, even then, there was no rioting in the street. There was none of that. And do you know why? It's because we had the sense to be racist in our own damn house. That's what it was. But this time, and as much as people didn't like George Bush, he was not an evil person. He might have been inept, but he wasn't evil.
Right.
This man is evil. And he incited, he fed into that part of American society, that xenophobic, racist part of American society that says they're taking everything from you. They're taking everything. They're taking back the culture that you stole from them. How dare they?
He already has everything, so he shouldn't even be complaining.
Brandon, he has a lot to be complaining about. You seen that man.
I mean, those things, we can't fix his looks or his hair, his neck, all wobbly neck.
What is this?
We can't fix that. He got enough money to get that fixed.
Because he thinks he's perfect, though.
Yeah, he does.
Big pores all on his skin.
Oh, that is a one hurt brother right there. That is
tidy whities.
Big ass tidy whities.
We can't fix that.
He wears some big ass draws, y'all. He wears some big ass draws. President Big Draws. That's his. He's no longer the Cheeto in Chief. He is now President Big Draws. So, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and end the show because y'all know we go off on tangents. And that's what we do here. I just want to say that there is good news this year, y'all. You know what my good news is?
What is it, Brad?
On January 14th, hockey season starts. That's all I want to say. So that is the reason why I am wearing my 2020 Winter Classic beanie. Yes.
I thought she was going to say something else.
Me too. Guess not.
No, we're going to talk about hockey because hockey brings me joy. So yeah, hockey.
I was like, what easy? Tell us.
No. I also have the victory green on the eyes because the Dallas Stars are starting on the 14th. I probably won't be able to get tickets because it's limited even at the AAC. But if I can, y'all, I will probably be late to work one of these nights so I can go start. So listen, that is reason to celebrate. Like 2020 started great for me because I was on vacation for like 3 weeks in California at the end of 2019. I came home because the Winter Classic, Jackie, you know, I bought my Winter Classic ticket February of 2019. I had that ticket for a year for this game. I got up in the middle of the night as soon as I got the notification, spent over $100 on that ticket, a lot of money on this ticket. I came home the next day. I went down to the Cotton Bowl. I was so excited. I was probably, in the words of a friend of mine, Carlos, one of the only meatballs in the bowl of rice down there. And I had the best damn time. That was the first time the Winter Classic was played in Dallas, and it was the Predators against Dallas Stars, which are my two favorite teams, division rivals. And it was the best time. So 2020 started off well for me. I was thinking that this is going to be good. Jackie, you and I were planning this show. We had these grand things to start off with, and then
boom.
It was like we were all put on pause. So I am holding on to the memory that was this hat and that day on January 1st of 2020 and what the year was supposed to be. So the fact that we and then even with a late start, Dallas made it all the way to the Stanley Cup, even though they didn't win. They made it all the way to the Stanley Cup. Listen, this hat is good luck. Dallas Stars are good luck, and hockey season starts on the 14th. All right, so we are going to end our show with good luck to the Dallas Stars and the entire NHL. We ain't gonna talk about football. We ain't gonna talk about basketball because I don't care. I just care about hockey. Yeah.
I like football. You know that.
Well, hockey is football on skates.
Yeah, it's a little bit more complex.
Yeah, and they fight. They drop glove all the time.
Yeah, it's cold.
That's the problem for Miss Cole.
You be strong. Put on some leg warmers. I'll make you some leg warmers. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. So I'm gonna get you down there to the AAC, and we're gonna go Stars. All right, so we're gonna end the show. Thank you, Brandon, for joining us. Of course, thank you, Jackie, for joining me as well. We will see you all next week with another show. We're not sure what we're gonna bring you, but we will tell you by the end of this week what we're gonna talk about. We may talk about murder. We may not. Most likely, we'll still be talking about this damn insurrection. Because that's the bullshit that we found on Al Gore's internet. So we're going to end the show. Thank you. And as always, be safe, be blessed, and enjoy that second cup. Look at me.
Yay!
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Night.